Hi everyone, Stepan here after a week. I'm sorry about that, but I was in Senta playing the tournament. I just came back home yesterday and had a bit of rest, and now I'm going to try and record all the videos with all the games from the tournament. So I would say it was a tough tournament. I wouldn't say that it was as bad as Novi Sad playing wise. I think I played better, but my results are worse. So it was tough, and in the first 3 rounds, unfortunately, I had 3 defeats. In all 3 games, I was better, but that of course doesn't mean anything, but I was better and I should have played better after gaining that advantage. Now I'm going to go over rounds 2 and 3. In round 1, as you can see in the previous video, I played an international master in the Pan of Caro-Kann, got a better position, had an opportunity for an even winning position, but missed it. In round 2, I faced an opponent who was younger than me, and rated just above 2000. And preparing for him was kind of hard because he usually plays knight f3 g3 systems, and the move order he uses is not that clear and he switches it often. But during the tournament I saw several of his games with white, and 2 of them actually followed my game with him up to, well, which move? Maybe 15 or 20, which is really incredible. So at the board he plays g3. Usually plays one knight f3, but still. And I prepared for King's Indian attacks for some sort of semi-Tarrasch and Tarrasch positions. I wasn't really sure what we were going to get on the board. I played d5, knight f3, knight f6, bishop g2, and now I can play passively. I can play positions which I know with e6, c6, let's say bishop f5, followed by e6, followed by c6. And black is slightly worse there, and white sort of is the only one who is playing for the win. If 2 very good players are playing with our level, of course anything can happen. But I didn't want to do that, so I wanted to play actively, played c5, which is a much better move, of course, controlling the center, but riskier. Castles, knight c6, d4, e6, and now c4. And this is one of the lines in the King's Indian attack, which I've looked at probably a year ago. I've briefly been over it for this game, but I didn't really think it's going to happen. So now I had to remember my analysis from a year ago. So d takes c4, I thought was one of the main moves, and I mean, I knew it was. Queen a4, which I think is uncommon. I think much more common is taking here, although I'm not sure. Let's just see. D takes c4. I'm turning on the live book. Queen a4, yeah, is the main move with 900 games. Knight a5, knight e5, 600 games. dc5 is 400 games. So queen a4 is the main move. And now I suppose bishop d7. I was expecting queen takes c4, and now c takes d4, knight takes d4, and rook c8. And here he has several options. I think that he doesn't have to liquidate everything. I think he should play knight c3 and follow it up with rook d1, maybe b3, bishop b2, and try to go for an active position, wait for me to exchange the pieces off. Because if he plays knight c3, knight takes d4, queen takes d4 isn't really scary. The discovered attack on the queen actually allows the queen to recapture on d4. But instead of that, he went for a lot of exchanges. Knight c6, bishop c6, bishop c6 check, rook takes c6, and now queen a4, pinning my rook, but not really in an active way. And here I couldn't decide between queen b6, bishop c5, and queen c7. Giving up this pawn shouldn't really be an option, so queen c7 I discarded soon. I want to develop my bishop because I want to castle, so bishop c5 was really the only option I was looking at. Note that b4 doesn't work because if bishop b6, then b5 blocks this diagonal to the king, and the rook can now move, and black should be just better. So after bishop c5, he continued with knight c3, and now I have a choice. I can either castle, which I didn't like, because if I castle, he is going to play bishop g5, and after here takes, knight e4 I didn't like, and this position I think should be equal. I don't have anything there, and I thought that I could have a slight advantage. So after knight c3, I really liked my bishop. I don't want to trade it off for his bishop, obviously, because my bishop is perfectly placed here. I have tricks with knight g4, as we are going to see later as an option. I can increase the pressure with queen b6. Sometimes queen c7 or queen b8 put pressure on g3 if the h-pawn has moved. Sometimes after queen c8, I can play queen h3, knight g4 and checkmate. So my position was much more active than his. So I decided to stop his counterplay before castling h6, and now it's really not that easy to develop the bishop. I mean, he can go bishop f4, but what's the bishop really doing on f4? I didn't really know what he was going to do with his piece. So b4 now, bishop b6 and rook d1. Now I have a choice between several queen moves, and here, as I said, I was already happy with my position. Didn't think I was better, but thought that I could be the only one that's playing for an advantage. Now queen b8, well, okay, there are a couple of problems in this position. If I play the move queen c8, which I want to play, which I ended up playing, I'm allowing the move rook d6, exchanging my rook and isolating my pawns. On the other hand, if I play queen b8, then my queen is really useless here, and I'm also allowing bishop f4. So the queen is now going to have to move again, let's say to rook a8, and now rook d6 once again. So after rook d1, I didn't really have that many options. Perhaps after queen b8, bishop f4, I can play bishop c7, but after takes, I'm either losing my a7 pawn and allowing him to simply be a pawn up. After castles, he has time to defend his... well, maybe I can take the knight now. Yeah, I can take the knight now, sorry. Okay. But still, after bishop takes bishop c7, queen takes c7, bishop takes c7, queen takes c7, maybe he doesn't have to do that. Maybe he can play knight b5 first, and after the queen moves, he can now take. But I think my position is loose. So after rook d1, I played queen c8, allowing rook d6, castles, and after rook takes, I took with the b pawn. And here I liked my position. I really did, because he played bishop b2 now, and now my pieces are much more active than his. I can play knight g4 immediately, but after knight g4, of course, if he plays knight e4, then that should be just losing for him. His only move would be h3 here, and after takes here, rook takes f2 would be winning for black. But after knight g4, he can play the move e3, and now it's not really clear what I do. I think maybe e5 as the best idea here, queen c2 as a defense, and now let's say rook d8 or queen transferring to e6 and to some of the light squares. But after rook d1, I didn't think I have that much. So after bishop b2, knight g4 isn't really such a big threat. What I played in the game is, well, positional but counterintuitive and bad. What I should have played is the reason why I played queen c8 in the first place, and that's the move e5. And now after e5, queen h3 is a threat. Not a huge threat, not a checkmating threat, but still a threat. So let's see what he can do. Let's say after e5, he plays the move e3, which the engine seems to like. I've had this position on the board with the engine after the game. So after e3, queen h3 apparently is not a strong threat because of queen takes c6. And now I have to play e4 to stop his queen from coming back. Knight d1 was the move. And now after knight g4, queen takes c4, queen takes h2, king f1. There's almost nothing here for black. I've given up a pawn. White is a pawn up, but his king is sort of iffy. And I still have the initiative and black should be better, but there's nothing major there. So after the move e5, king g2, let's say, is the human move, and I think my opponent would have played it. Now I can continue with knight g4. Now, of course, e3 I think is risky because of queen f5, and I think, well, if you turn on the engine, I think that black should be, yeah, winning here. So after knight g4, I guess rook f1 should be played, and now queen f5. And this was my calculation. h3 allowing this capture, knight takes f2, and now g4. trying to misplace my queen. I have to try and defend, so queen f4, and now bishop c1, and now queen c4, attacking the knight. And after queen b3, when everything is defended, I take. My knight is still hanging, but I think I have a better position. Let's say I play rook b8, so after takes, let's say takes, king takes here. I think black should be winning this position. It's 2 pieces against a rook and a bunch of pawns. So it's 4 pawns for white at the moment, 6 pawns for black, but I'm going to be winning the b3 pawn. So yeah, the move e5 was definitely what I should have played, especially because all the lines I was showing you now are, well, good lines for white. There are tons of ways for white to go wrong here, and obviously if I include my queen in the game, bishop, queen and knight are really strong, especially considering that this bishop is inactive, this queen is stuck on a4, the rook is still on a1. It's hard to defend. There are absolutely no defenders around the white king, so after e5, introducing another piece into play, and especially after king g2, which should be the main move, I think black should be better. Well, the engine thinks black is winning. I don't think that for a human black is winning. I think that black is better. But after bishop b2, I couldn't see all of that, couldn't see a clear way to attack. I saw that knight g4 doesn't work. Queen c8 was played because of e5, but I completely ignored that here. And I wanted to dissolve my weakness. So I played the move c5, which the position is equal, and my move doesn't do anything. So if he takes, I'm going to take with the queen, and obviously my position is great. If he doesn't take, if he pushes b4, then I thought I'm still fine. I have a passed pawn here. I can try and maybe even push it immediately and go for queen c5 and try to play actively. And what I expected him to play was rook c1, and now I thought I have to move my queen. Let's just see if taking on b4 is an option. I don't think it is. Yeah, okay. It's not. Well, yeah, it's not. Okay, so after rook c1, I played the move queen b8, just getting out of the pin, and now of course I don't have my queen on the same diagonal. I cannot get on h3 anymore. Here he played b5, and I played the rook d8. And after rook d1, I found a good move, rook d4. If he now takes, the knight is forced to go back, so my position would be just incredibly good here. I think that his bishop is stuck. I'm going to play the move e5, and let's say he tries, well, I have no idea what he tries. Let's say he tries, where does he move the knight? I just don't know. Okay, let's say queen here, and let's say I play e5, and let's say he continues with a4, and after I get my knight to d5, I think that I'm just much better here. It's much easier to play black. But after rook d4 he didn't take, of course. He played queen c2, and now my move queen d8 was perhaps unnecessary because he played e3, and now I have to exchange. Knight takes d1, and now for the blunder of the game, which c5 was a bad move because I had an opportunity to play e5. But what I played here was just... So at this moment I thought I don't have anything, the position is equal. In fact, his bishop might now be better than my bishop because he had played e3. And I saw a move which, well, I figured was good. I played c4. Just to let you know, I should have played something like knight d5 perhaps, and trying to get into the light squares, perhaps even queen d5, trying to poke at some weaknesses. I'm not sure, but I don't have anything much. The position is completely equal. I need to play it precisely, and it's all of a sudden now easier to play for white. After c4, the tactical sequence which I saw he could play, which he played, turned out much worse for me because I couldn't see the final continuation. So bishop takes f6, and obviously the pawn is going to be hanging if I take with the queen. What I saw is that I should take with the g-pawn, and now queen can't take because the knight is hanging, and he has knight b2, which of course double attacks the pawn and should be winning for white if I don't manage to defend. But what I saw was queen d5. Now obviously if he takes with the knight, I'm going to take on b5, be equal. If he takes with the queen, my idea was the move queen d2. And now I have tricks of bishop takes e3. And I also, of course, am attacking the knight, and I'm attacking a2 if everything moves out of the way. So I was expecting the move queen b3. And after queen b3, I saw all this before playing the move c4. And I went for a continuation, which was just no good. What I should have done was followed it up with my plan of going for a draw, just bishop takes e3. And now if queen takes, then queen takes knight. If queen takes pawn, then I have a perpetual check. And there's just nothing to it. For white, he cannot avoid the perpetual check. And after bishop takes e3, if f takes e3, then I just check all the way. So queen e1 check, king here. I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi is slow for some reason. And this is a perpetual check as well. And there's nothing, well, maybe even queen h5 check. Yeah, not allowing that. So this is a perpetual check. So after bishop takes e3, the position is a dead draw. After queen b3, though, I saw a way for me to be better, which was absurd in this position. So I played queen e1 check, king h2, queen b1. And now it's really hard for him to move his pieces. I'm going to take on a2 if he doesn't do anything. I'm going to try and activate my pieces if he doesn't do anything, but I expected him to exchange everything off with knight c4, which did happen. And after takes, for some reason in my mind, this position was better for black, which is so bad and so misjudged that, I mean, this is winning for white. This knight is so much better than the bishop that black should resign already. I continued playing though. King f8, e4, bishop c5, f4, king e8, king f3. If he ever gets to my h6 pawn, just bishop f8. King d7, king g4, king c7, f5. And now if I don't do anything, if he manages to exchange, then his king is going to have an entry point via g6 if my f7 pawn is gone, so I need to do something. If I take, he's going to take with the king and win, so I have to push. So e5. King h5, bishop f8. And now I thought, well, I might draw this, but no. Okay. King g4, the king just goes back. Bishop c5, king f3, king b7, and he played great here. I mean, I just had no chance. This position is so losing for black that he can just enter the position. My bishop cannot hold on to everything. Once he gets his knight into d5, bishop d8 is the only way to defend f6. And now he just marches his king forward. I'm in Zugzwang and game over. So I'd say the opening went well. I was slightly better, at least with certainty I can say that I managed to equalize with black against a higher rated opponent. Once again had a chance to get a slightly better position, but missed it when I should have played e5. I played c5 and complicated matters. And then in the end, well, I think I deserved to lose this one because I misplayed the position when I was equal and had a chance to be better. And so after two defeats, well, round 3, I finally got the white pieces, had black twice, which is horrible. Had the black pieces 6 times during this tournament, which is bad luck, but what can you do? So in round 3, which was in the morning, on the 3rd day of the tournament, so it was a day with a double round, the only one. Finally have the white pieces, and I play a player who plays the Najdorf. So I'm happy to get my f3 Sicilian in and hopefully have a quick win or have a win and go on to play somebody in round 4. And that was a female player, rated 1960, so definitely could win that position, and I won much higher rated games before. c5, knight f3, d6, d4, blah blah blah. We get the f3 Sicilian on the board. And now the main move is of course e5, knight b3, and now black can either play bishop e6 or d5. My opponent, however, played as if it were the Najdorf, as if I had played knight c3, which is now much better for white. After c4, white now already has a huge advantage, and it's really hard to play for black. g6, knight c3, bishop g7, bishop e3. And white is going to go for the same setup. Bishop e2 castles, queen d2, rook c1, rook f2 d1. Always the same moves. Castles, queen d2. Knight c6, bishop e2, e6. And now perhaps I should have thought longer. e6 obviously prepares the move d5, which is sort of the only way for black to try and equalize, and it's the hardest move to play because of the Maroczy bind, c4 and e4. So perhaps I should have played rook a to d1, which I don't like to do because my rook really belongs on c1. And if I play my rook to d1, then my f1 rook doesn't have a square. But this at least would have stopped d5, because now knight takes c6, pawn takes c6, let's say I castle here, let's say queen c7, and I should just be better. E takes d5, e takes d5. At least she's going to have an isolated pawn. Best case scenario for me, I win the d5 pawn and the game. But after e6 I castled, and she played d5, which I thought couldn't be played, and as you're going to see, it cannot be played. But I didn't know how to punish it, and I complicated matters and got an equal position. So I think the best way to punish it is knight takes c6, b takes c6, and now e5, knight d7, f4, where I'm playing against the horribly bad bishop on g7. And I think that my position should be much better. If I turn on the engine, it should be, yeah, plus 1.5. The other way to play after d5 would be c takes d5, and let's say e takes d5, and now knight takes c6, b takes c6, once again e5, knight d7, f4. And after rook e8, rook ac1, I'm playing against the c6 weakness and against the g7 bad bishop. But in the game, I just exchanged everything, which was a really bad idea. And here knight c6, b c6, knight d5, because I thought that this pawn was going to be a weakness, which is absurd because I'm losing my b2 pawn, so the position is completely equal. Rook e8, king f2, and now bishop takes b2, knight takes d5, bishop e6, rook a5, double attacking the weakness, and I saw that I'm going to be able to win the a6 pawn, she's going to win the a2 pawn, and I mean, that's just a draw. So bishop c3, I should play rook e6, bishop a6, let's say rook a8, and I don't know, I can play rook c1, maybe bishop g7, here takes, and this is a draw. In every variation, this is just a complete draw. But after rook a5, bishop c3, I didn't want to draw the game. I'd already lost 2 games, and I really wanted to go for a win. Not that it was possible here. I saw that my idea was worse than the equal position I would get after rook takes a6, but I still had to risk it and had to try. It was a bad decision. Rook a4. a5, a3, bishop b3, and now my rook goes around the board. h5, rook e4, takes. Of course, black is much better here. I would say that with precise play, black can easily convert this, and then there is nothing for white to try and stop that. Bishop e7, and she did play precisely. Rook a1, a4, and well, probably here after king e3 there is some hope, and I can try and hold on. I don't know, this was some of my calculation. Perhaps I can hold on in this position. It should be much better for black, but she still has to prove it. But after rook c2, I played an incredibly bad move. My idea was to stop bishop g5. And if I stop bishop g5, then I should be equal, perhaps. So I played g3, which just loses on the spot because of bishop e6. And now, believe it or not, there are checkmate threats. And I played bishop b5, attacking the pawn. Bishop g5, and now if I take the pawn, this is checkmate. So I need to do something. So after bishop g5, I play bishop f2 so that I can retreat. And now I'm already holding on for dear life. Bishop f6, rook e1, rook a2, bishop c5, bishop g5, and it's just game over. Bishop e2, I have to try and defend the checkmate threats. Bishop d2, and after rook d1, bishop g4 check, king f2, and I hope you can spot the winning move here, just bishop takes c2 and game over. After bishop takes c2, king takes c2, bishop b4 wins the c5 bishop, and resignation is in order. So after 3 rounds, I was, well, mentally weak definitely, upset definitely, with my play, not with the results. of course I was unhappy because I was losing a lot of points, but I don't know, it was just hard psychologically. So after 3 rounds, 0 out of 3. And I'm happy to say that in the next 3 rounds I had 3 wins. So I managed to get back on my feet and concentrate on the following games. So I had some good results afterwards. Yeah, one thing I would like to mention is that during the tournament in Senta, I found 134 things I have to improve in my play based on the tournament in Novi Sad and the tournament in Senta, which is really good, and that's what's well, really exciting for me. I have a lot of things to work on, and I know in which areas I have to improve, and I know where my mistakes are. So for those of you who are following me on Patreon, in the next few days I'm going to create a list of the 134 things I have to improve and the ways I plan to improve them. And in my training PDFs I'm going to actually be sending out my analysis and my workout to improve these 134 things. So hopefully for my next tournament I'm going to be a slightly stronger player. Thanks very much for watching. Sorry once again for not recording for a week. I have to think of something else for recording while at tournaments. This was really hard, especially after losing the first 3 rounds. I just didn't feel like doing anything. And yeah, the videos will be daily from now on. Thanks very much. If you want to support me, check out the link to the Patreon page in the description below, and see you later. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.